shoved that in my backpack. And then I started sneaking through the house. So I went from my bedroom, down the hall, down the steps. Every step, I could feel my former father's hands on me. Like it's like that mental control where it's like every step I took, that hand just kept squeezing. We had come up with like, do I want a different name? And that's when I picked Charlotte or Charlie. A lot of people call me Charlie. Because it was my first time using an ATM, I didn't know how to do multiple transactions in one. So I had to do multiple ins and outs with the credit card or the debit card and got a singular 20 out every time. So I had to start the process all over again. I didn't know. I was never allowed to use the ATM. So like, I didn't know if I was touching the buttons on the screen or the buttons on the side. Like, I didn't know. So I had $500 in 20s. Leaving my old life, it was leaving the abuse, it was leaving my old name, and it was leaving the Adventist church all in one. It was leaving all the secrets and finally getting out of that and being like, no more. Because I had lost so much running away. I lost my family. I lost my extended family members. I lost a lot of friends in that process. I've lost a ton. And so anytime I was able to get a little bit of my old self back, I clung on to it.
Mine is the only voice.
What have I been doing?
Lay down my autonomy.
After that, it got very dark very quickly.
Hey, my name is Shalise Ansola, and this is Cults to Consciousness, where we discuss leaving high-demand religions or organizations and finding healing and independence through awareness and true individual sovereignty. If you're only listening, go to YouTube instead, where you can join in on the conversation. It helps the podcast so much if you watch on YouTube, because you can interact with the post, liking, sharing, commenting, leaving those words of encouragement for our guests means so much to them. It is such a great way to support the show and obviously our guests who are coming on and sharing their stories. If you're just now joining us for this second episode, what we talked about in the first is how Charlotte was adopted into this family from Russia, growing up in this home where it was incredibly abusive in all of the ways that you can imagine. Both parents were in on it. How she tried to get CPS involved and that fell flat, how she even went to a pastor and that didn't really do anything, and how a lot of this abuse was actually justified with the Bible, or at least according to her former father, it was justified by the Bible and by the church. So a lot of it, she wasn't even aware that it was abnormal until late in her teen years. So we go into depth about her relationship with her family, about the school system, about all the rules that she had to follow within Adventism, and now we're going to be talking about the escape and how she was able to acclimate into normal life or find a normal life and completely change her identity. So thank you so much for deciding to come back with us and keep talking with us, Charlotte Hayes.
Of course, I'm back.
Yes, we were getting close to the hour and 30 and I was like, no, we need more time.
I know, it's quite a long story. I could have mentioned that before. Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay. We're here now. We're ready to hear more. So where we left off, you had just made plans with your friend and you're trying to figure out the logistics of actually making it to Georgia.
Yeah. So we had eventually decided that I would leave June 10th, 2018 at 3:30 in the morning. That is very early Sunday morning. And the day before was obviously Saturday, which was Sabbath in the Seventh-day Adventist Church. And so we just kind of played things like normal and acted like everything was normal. Obviously, I was still in trouble with having told family members what was going on. So my former mother was on edge. She was rarely letting me out of her sight. I was sleeping in her bedroom, so I couldn't have a whole lot of privacy. So that Saturday morning we had gone to church. Everything was like normal. I don't even remember the sermon. I just remember, I think, staring at the floor and looking at the person in front of me's shoes from behind. Definitely like dissociated that entire sermon. But I remember at the end of church walking up to my pastor and giving her a hug. To her, it was like any other goodbye, but to me, it was like, I don't know when I'm seeing you again. And again, that's like the secrecy in the Adventist church where it's like, if I had told her my plan, I don't know if that would have again gotten back to my former parents. Yeah. And so it had to be very much like kept under the lid on what was happening. So yeah, that was church. That was really awkward saying bye. I gave her a really tight hug too. I was like, I'll miss you. She's like, I'll see you next week. I'm like, nope, no, you're not.
Was there a sense of relief when you realized you did not have to go back to this church?
Ah, yes and no, because we had like switched churches off and on. Like we had gone to Vienna, we had gone to the Manassas church. This was a different church in like Ashburn area. We had just switched so many churches, and of all the churches, I liked this one the most. It was the most relaxed. I didn't have to be as formal. I could very much go in jeans and a sweatshirt.
Whoa.
There was also a snack table. There was coffee provided. Most Adventist churches don't give coffee. The pastor was also a female. So I would say that this, of all the churches, was the most like liberal while also being conservative.
And that's important to note too, as we talked about in the first episode, where there can be a huge range of differences and variances within one religion, depending on where you're at, how closely they follow the rules. And so it's hard when people try and discredit others' experiences for having a more strict experience or like, that's just not how it works. When in reality, the church that this other person went to was probably just more relaxed and not following the rules as strictly.
It's
So it's
so
good that you mentioned
vast.
that.
Yeah,
Hmm.
there's so many different types of churches. Some of them here in Washington and Spokane, some of them here are very, very conservative, even more so than the ones that I had grown up with. And
Yeah.
it's just very different.
The night you left, what's going through your mind? You're probably freaking out, but also excited, but everything has to go perfectly. Walk us through what happened.
So I was having to sleep in my former mother's room because my former father was on a business trip in Florida, so he was out of town. So she was pretty much like, I gotta keep eyeballs on my kid until the real authority gets home, my former father. So she was making me sleep in her bed, which was awkward. Definitely awkward. A little weird just because I was 18. I didn't really want to be sleeping in bed with my mommy. And so I just remember, I knew that she would take trazodone because she was kind of an insomniac. She had trouble sleeping. So she was definitely asleep. And I don't know how. I am fairly sure I had fallen asleep that night because my plan was that I would just lay awake in bed until it was 3 and start moving. But no, I fell asleep. I somehow woke up at 3. By chance, I woke up at 3. And I kind of like had to like just slide my body off of the bed. I didn't want to directly stand up because like like if you stand up off the bed, like it makes more movement. And I just didn't want to risk anything waking her up, so I like slid off the bed very carefully, snuck back down to my room. I finished packing. I texted Tiffany that I was ready and getting ready. I wrote a note. I wrote a goodbye note. I don't remember what I said. I'm pretty sure it was very cheesy, like I'm just off to start my own life and find out who I am. Because I didn't know. I was panicking. I didn't know what to say. And so I wrote that and left it on my bed. I made my bed. I wanted to clean up my room before I left. The people pleaser in me was like, I don't want to leave a mess. So I made things very easy for them. I made my bed, cleaned off my desk, made everything neat and tidy, finished packing. Some of the packing choices were interesting. I mean, other than like the few essentials, I still had space in the bag, so I was able to put like some old life mementos in there. So I took with me my high school English notebook. Why? I didn't need it, but something in me was like, I'm gonna want this. I brought some books, like Fahrenheit 451 and Great Gatsby. Like, why am I gonna
Nice.
need to take these with me? um, I took jewelry. I took some of my jewelry with me. Yeah, some very random things I chose to take with me. I had a lot of layers on too because not all of my because jackets are gonna fill up your bag the most, and I only had a duffel bag and a backpack. That's it. I wore a hoodie. I wore like 2 jackets on my body, so I was quite warm in summer. I was warm. But I knew that once I got to Tiffany's car, I could take those things off, so it was just for getting out the door I needed to carry those. 3:30 happened. Tiffany had texted me that she was outside in one house away. I didn't want her pulling in front of my house because I didn't want the headlights to wake anyone up. I didn't know. I was paranoid. So I had her wait across the street and one house up. So she did that. I said, turn off your car so the lights aren't on, or at least turn your headlights off. So that's what she had done. I erased the iPad. I deleted everything, completely wiped it, shoved that in my backpack. And then I started sneaking through the house. So I went from my bedroom, down the hall, down the steps. Every step, I could feel my former father's hands on me. Like it's like that mental control where it's like every step I took, that hand just kept squeezing. And so I made it down the steps, went through the kitchen to the garage, and my dog that night was in the garage because it was too hot outside. The garage was actually cooler. So that's why he was in there. So I walked past him. He was quiet. He didn't ever really bark. He was super quiet. It's interesting because I think he knew. I think any other time he would have gotten super, super excited to see me as per usual. Like he would get always excited to see me no matter the time. He was calm. He was very calm. His tail was wagging very slowly. He was very, very calm. And it's still eerie to think about that. Just combined with everything that was going on, that the dog just knew to be calm. And so as I was walking out the door, I kind of turned back and looked at him, and I was like, I can't take you with me, buddy. I'm sorry. And I closed the door and I went to Tiffany's car.
What are your feelings when you get in that car and drive away?
Oh, my heart was pounding. I remember I put all of my bag. I threw my backpack in the duffel bag into the back seat, and I took the layers off, and I leaned the passenger seat all the way as far back as it could go, because I didn't know if I had woken anyone up. I didn't know if they were coming out, if my former mother was coming out the door to see me, or like what. I was freaking out. So I leaned the seat back and I stayed in that position until we were out of Gainesville.
Oh, man. So they truly had no way to contact you because she still had your phone in her possession and you wiped your iPad. So you were like
Yep.
truly free
Free.
in some ways.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, it almost in a way, like leaving that house was also leaving like my old self, because even the night that we were even just planning me running away, we had come up with like, do I want a different name? And that's when I picked Charlotte or Charlie. A lot of people call me Charlie. So it was leaving my old life, it was leaving the abuse, it was leaving my old name, and it was leaving the Adventist church all in one. It was leaving all the secrets and finally getting out of that and being like, no more.
And even stepping out of all of that and stepping into a new life, I imagine that it still took a long time to come out of that secrecy and be able to be truthful and vulnerable with people.
Yeah, it did. Even that night with running away, like Tiffany and I went to Denny's. That was our first stop after I ran away. Same night at like, because we had left at 3:30. I want to say it was like 4:30 because we drove an hour in one random direction, found a Denny's, had some breakfast. That was where I tried bacon for the first time. And even at breakfast, like I just remember like she was trying to talk with me and like kind of get an idea on why I was running away. I mean, Tiffany really didn't know a whole lot other than she was like the getaway driver and bringing me to Savannah. And so even then it was just hard to like admit what was going on, and I was basically just saying like it was a bad home and not
Yeah.
really divulging that information.
Well, I'm sure you weren't ready, especially an hour
Mm-mm.
after you had
I was
just
in
escaped
shock.
it. Yeah.
I was still in shock. I tried one bite of bacon. I didn't totally love it. I love it now. But in that moment I was so stressed that I just didn't really want to eat. And then after that we ended up driving another like hour in a totally separate, again, another direction to a bank, to an ATM. So that was again my first time using an ATM. So this was the last time I used my debit card. And so I withdrew the only money that I had on there, which was $500. It was inherited. I had gotten like $24,000, but my former father, because he was the joint owner on that account, he slowly took money out of that account and left me only with 500. It's not his only time. He's done that. But yeah, So he did that, but I took the remainder of that 500 because it was my first time using an ATM. I didn't know how to do multiple transactions in one. So I had to do multiple ins and outs with the credit card or the debit card and got a singular 20 out every time. So I had to
Oh my
start the
gosh.
process all over again each time. I didn't know. I was never allowed to use the ATM. So like I didn't know if I was touching the buttons on the screen or the buttons on the side. Like I didn't know. And so
Yeah.
after I pulled the 20 out, I would just pull my card out. I would end that transaction, have to re-put it in, put my PIN
Oh
in
my
every
God.
time. So I had $500 in 20s.
Oh my gosh. Was Tiffany like, what's taking so long?
Tiffany was waiting in the car. I really look suspicious. Like, if it was possible to go back on their security footage to that night, I would look really weird because I had a hoodie on. It was again, I mean, I put my layers back on just because I didn't want to be really noticed and seen. I put the hood up, I put some sunglasses on. So I looked really sketchy, and I admit
Yeah.
that. Like, I admit that it looked odd. It looked really weird. Like, if someone saw me from, like, the parking lot or something, they would probably think that I was trying to rob that ATM
Yeah.
because of how sketchy I looked.
A 20 at a time.
Yep, a 20 at a time. So I was there for, like, 30 minutes.
How long did it take you guys to drive to Georgia?
So I ended up staying with Tiffany for, like, 3 days at her house, just because she had to still work. So I stayed in her bedroom. I went with her to work one of the days. And then on the 13th, we ended up driving down to Savannah, Georgia. We left very, very early in the morning. And what's scary is I believe it was either that morning or the morning before we left. My former father, because again, he was on that business trip in Florida. At that point, he knew I was gone, and my mother had let him know. So he decided when he was driving up to help look for me that he knew that my friend Sarah, who I had recently been getting close with, lived in Georgia. And since that was a stop on his route, he was like, why not just stop? So he called her dad, got her address, waited outside her apartment building for somebody to leave overnight. He waited overnight, waited for somebody to go out the apartment door so he could sneak in, went up to her apartment, banging on her door, looking for me. He was like, have you seen her? Have you talked to her? She was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I haven't heard from her, because technically that wasn't a lie. She didn't know. She hadn't heard from me that day because it was very early in the morning. She's like, I haven't heard from her today. Good luck. And he left. And he continued on his way up. We had to decide, like, is this safe?
So if you were just there a couple days before, he
Yeah.
would have found you.
He would have, yeah, he would have.
Oh my gosh.
It's not terrifying.
I mean, it makes you wonder what were his plans? Because you were 18. He couldn't
To take
hold
me
you
home?
forever. I know,
I think
but
he would
like
have.
if you never would have
Yeah.
left, what would he have done?
I think I would have lived under their roof until I died, or until at least they died.
Yeah, because also that's not very smart on his part, because you are 18. You could call the cops and say, I'm being kidnapped.
I could have. There's an attempted kidnapping happening. Yeah. If I was there. Thankfully, I was
Yeah.
still in Virginia secretly. Like, I was maybe 2 hours max away from them in Virginia for those first 3 days. And every car that went by Tiffany's house, I thought it was them.
Mm-hmm.
And then to be woken up very early in the morning by Sarah calling and being like, well, your dad was just here. We had to make a call on, like, is it still safe for me to go?
Yeah.
And we decided, yes, it was still safe because he doesn't think I'm going there. So we decided to continue going.
How long did you stay there?
In Savannah,
Yeah.
like 2 months.
Okay. So you felt safe enough to be there for that period of time. Were you just on edge the entire 2 months?
I was almost kind of like on a high, like none of the like PTSD symptoms had kicked in yet. Like, it was very much almost like a vacation in my head. Like, nothing really clicked. It didn't click that something drastic had just been done. Like, I had gotten a job within my first 24 hours after arriving.
Whoa. Doing what?
At a hot dog stand. It was so bad. It was so bad. So I like bailed on that job after like a few weeks, and I got a job at a coffee shop. But again, I don't have an ID. They wouldn't let me get a license. But I was like, here's my birth certificate, here's my social, here's my school ID. Can I be paid under the table? And they gave me like a 3-day where I would work for free, essentially, as a trial run. And then if they liked me, they'd keep me. So they ended up keeping me, but at the coffee shop, and paying me under the table because I didn't want to use my debit card.
Am I remembering correctly that you're not technically, according to Adventism rules, you're not supposed to drink coffee?
Not supposed to drink coffee.
So were you? I'm just imagining
I was
not being
thrilled.
exposed because I was the same with Mormonism. You're not allowed to drink coffee. So walking into a coffee shop, I'm like, this might as well be Chinese. I don't know what any of this means. How did you feel working in a coffee shop?
It was great. I loved it. I learned what I needed to, and I now know how to make a really good coffee.
Nice. So you
Yeah,
just dove
it's a
in.
good
You
skill to
didn't
have.
feel like, what am I doing
Yeah.
here? I don't know anything. You were just like, hey, we just got to figure it out.
I had really wanted to impress them, and so the day after they had agreed to at least do a 3-day trial with me, I had gone home and because I had remembered what coffee is like machine that they had used. So I looked it up and I learned all the parts of it and all the different things with it and all the intricate little things about it. And surprisingly, I don't know how, but my first day there on a free trial, unpaid trial, the machine breaks. Their coffee machine breaks. And they're like, we're going to have to close. We'll have to get somebody in here. It's going to cost a ton of money to get this fixed. And I was like, could I look at it? And they're like, oh, you're not going to know how to do it. I was like, well, maybe not, but like, could I still look? And they were like, I guess, like, don't break it more.
Yeah.
And I could fix it. I fixed it
Whoa.
because I had crammed my brain the night before with everything about this machine and fixed it. And then they hired me officially, and I was officially being paid. Like,
That
I want to
is
say like 3
amazing.
hours into my first shift, I was being paid.
Wait, can I tell you a funny story of the opposite thing
Yeah.
happening to me?
Oh no.
So I, as a Mormon, also wasn't allowed to drink alcohol. I knew nothing about it. I just knew that when I worked in
Mhm.
Vegas as a food runner, people were just inebriated and I didn't want anything to do with it. So even when I left Mormonism, I still didn't drink. I still don't. But anyway,
Okay.
I wanted to be a bartender because I knew they made a lot of money and I was newly in Los Angeles and I was like, okay, I got to figure this out. I took a course. I learned how to make all the drinks with all the fake alcohol, whatever.
Okay.
So I go to this job interview and
Oh no.
I can win someone over. I'm like, I'm great at talking and I learned how to be persuasive through commercial acting classes, whatever. So she was like, awesome, great. We can get you in a second interview with our general manager. Just give me 3 top shelf brands of whiskey. And I was all, no idea. I was just like,
Oh no.
well, there's that I could not name any brand of alcohol because I'd only learned
Oh,
how to make the
no.
drinks. And I was like,
You had only
"Shit,
learned how to
there's-
make.
There's a
Darn
hole in the
it.
system." But the funny thing is, I did get into the second interview, and he was super nice, and because they were just walking me right over from that, and
Yeah.
so I was like, "How do I fix this? How do I fix this?" And he's like, "Well, it doesn't seem like you have the experience we need for the bartender." I was like, "I'll be a server," and he's like, "Well, we're not hiring servers," and I was like, "But you should," and I somehow convinced them to hire me. So it ended up working, but
Hey,
it was
good
just
job. But
it
you
was
weren't
one
a
of
bartender.
those. And I was not. It was one of those moments though where I just realized how vastly unprepared for the world I was, even 5 years after leaving Mormonism or 2 years after leaving Mormonism.
Yeah.
I was just like, what the hell, Shalice, you should have thought that through. So I love that you figured it out. You
That's
did the
fair.
homework and you were like,
Oh,
let's
yeah.
do this.
Yeah. I was like, they're giving me a 3-day trial, unpaid trial. This better be freaking good so I can actually stay because I need the money. $500 is only going to get me so far.
Yeah. Yeah. So you got your job, you moved out 2 months later into your own place, or what was your next step?
I had been contacted on Facebook because I had logged into my old Facebook account. And I had a message from a couple that I had gone to church with growing up. And they had reached out and they were like, hey, like, you haven't been at church for a while. Like, what's going on? Like, are you doing okay? And I was like, yeah. And I kind of explained a little bit, but I didn't really go into the detail. And I want to say it was maybe like 2 or 3 days later that they called me and they were like, so we'd be willing to move from a 1-bedroom apartment to a 2 if you wanted to come back and get your life a little bit more on track than it is down in Savannah. Because Sarah, she was on an off-campus apartment that she rented that for school. So when she was done with school, she was no longer going to be living there. So it's like I kind of was on a time crunch. I was thankful that I got to have those 2 months there, but I was on a time crunch and needed to figure out what I was doing next. So this just kind of like landed in my lap pretty perfectly, I would say. So yeah, so I ended up moving back up to Virginia, 45 minutes away from where I grew up. And they had no idea for like, I want to say like maybe like a year. They didn't know that I was secretly living back up in Virginia because I had made a friend in Savannah and I was like, can you just like send me like random pictures of Savannah like every now and then? And I would post those to like my old Instagram stories.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that gives me major anxiety moving back so close
With
to
an
your former
Adventist
parents'
couple?
house with an Adventist couple from your church, right? So wouldn't your former parents, because did the couple expect you to go to church though?
They did not. They were very liberal, LGBTQ plus friendly,
Okay.
feminists. Like they were like the very, very, very liberal side of the Adventist. And like I believe like the guy, he was not technically Adventist. I want to say he was more agnostic. Whereas his wife was more Adventist, but she was still very, very liberal Adventist.
Okay.
Yeah. So
you got really
I
lucky
didn't
with that.
go. Yeah, and thankfully, when I ran away, my former parents stopped going to church. They stopped going to that church, and they had continuously told me, and I still didn't go immediately back to church until I want to say maybe 2 months into living with them. Yeah, and my pastor
Wait,
had
but
no idea that I was secretly living with these people.
you hold on. So you went back to the same church knowing that
Same church.
they could show up any day.
They could or they could. Yeah. Yep.
That's really brave.
It was ballsy. Yeah.
Yeah. And they
Yep.
never did though.
I remember walking back into the church and the pastor just looking at me and being like, what the hell? Because she had been notified after I ran away that I had gone missing. She knew I was missing, had no idea, like nobody really knew where I was other than that I was missing and that my former parents were no longer at the church.
Okay.
And then here I am just randomly showing up with this couple.
Do you think that they stopped going to that church because of an image thing? They didn't want people to know?
Yes. 1000%. They ended up starting going to a more conservative church closer to Gainesville because a new one had opened really close to Gainesville that they started going to.
So I'm just now putting
Yeah.
the pieces together.
And I kept tabs. I could see them on the live stream.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I would keep tabs.
Yeah.
Yep. I would watch live streams. Yep.
I'm just now putting the pieces together that your youth pastor knew that they were predatory, even if they didn't know the whole story. She didn't know the whole story. But it was never communicated to the next church, hey, you have some predators moving in.
Nope.
Doesn't matter. They're out of our hair now.
Yep. Pretty much. They're just not attending.
Did you ever fully open back up to that pastor and say, hey, more happened?
I have since, yes. It took a while. Yeah. And like I post a lot on social media, like on TikTok and Instagram. Like I share my story pretty publicly. And I've had like one-on-one conversations with her. So she's very aware of what has happened. I don't know to what extent she knows. I know that she knows that there was rape, but I don't think she understands like the frequency of it, like multiple times a week frequency. So, yeah.
It's just, it's so unsettling to know that these churches and the higher ups, because in our previous episode, you mentioned that the youth pastor went to the legal counsel, went to the people in higher authority and tried to get counsel, and nothing was done.
But there wasn't anything that they could really do.
Well, why not? Why couldn't they go to the authorities?
Because, I mean, they needed me to talk. And I wasn't at that time ready to talk.
You weren't in a position mentally to go through that.
I, at that time, would not have said anything. Post running away and post, like, my Savannah, Georgia time, probably. Even then, it was still pretty touchy. Like, because I hadn't started therapy yet. I hadn't done a lot of deconstruction from the Adventist church yet. Like, I knew that I didn't totally believe in what I was being told. But at the same time, like, that was my community. That was where I knew people. So even just going back to the church, like, after I ran away, it was so nice. Like, I got to see people that I loved. I got to see my pastor again. I got to see some friends there. Like, I got a little, because I had lost so much running away. I lost my family. I lost my extended family members. I lost a lot of friends in that process. I lost my name because I changed it. I've lost a ton. And so anytime I was able to get a little bit of my old self back, I clung on to it. And so when I got my church back, it felt good. And that's what I needed at that time.
Yeah, and I'm glad you're bringing that up because I think that's something a lot of people don't necessarily consider when leaving high control groups is there's always something good about the group or else no one would be in it to begin with.
Yeah.
So, of course, you're going to have positive experiences as well as sometimes the negative, which is what makes people eventually leave. But I'm glad that you're bringing up how it still felt like home to you and how you can find good experiences. You can have great community within these groups because usually the people all mean well. For the most part, I would say these high control groups are comprised of people who are well meaning. They want the best for the world. They're just doing the best themselves. And a lot of times it's the systems that end up corrupting that piece. And so it is worth mentioning how there can be some positive experiences and there can be some hope and peace found in a group that you initially left.
Yeah. I would say, like, especially that church with the female pastor, like, it really wasn't all that bad. Like, yes, I didn't agree with everything that was being said, but it was familiar. It was something that I could hold on to.
Yeah, it was on the lighter end of the spectrum to where it wasn't such a chokehold on your freedoms. And we hadn't mentioned it yet, but you are on a strict raw vegan diet by your former mother. And you mentioned you tried bacon for the first time. My first thought was, oh no, your poor stomach.
My
Because
stomach,
trying any meat for the first time and then bacon, like, ah.
yeah, it is just fine now. Yep, I eat anything. I think one of my favorite things to eat is, like, mac and cheese from a box, specifically the spirals. They're fantastic. Although for people watching or listening, please know that if you get the mac and cheese, the spirals specifically, if you were going to eat it with another person, you need 2 boxes. 1 box per person. It's not enough. I've told so many friends that they'll be like, Charlie, we only need 1.
You're like, no, I need one and you need however much you need.
Yep. Yep.
We mentioned this in the first episode. I just want to reiterate that some people thrive on raw vegan diets, other people don't. And within Charlotte's specific story, she was not getting the nutrition that she needed. And so moving into a diet where you were in control, how did you find that process?
Oh, it was hard. It's still hard. Like, I guess it's not the healthiest mindset, but sometimes I'm like, I had plenty of fruits and veggies growing up that I don't really need them now. All of that's gonna, like, make up for everything that I've already eaten. So I need to start incorporating more fruits and veggies into my life a little bit more now and be mindful of that. But yeah, it's been kind of nice. Like, even Taco Bell, like, a lot of my friends will be like, "Oh, you wanna go to Taco Bell?" And I'm like, at the time, I didn't know what I've never had Taco Bell, and I was like, "I've never had Taco Bell." They'd be like, "Charlie, what are you talking about?" Like, I've truly never tried Taco Bell. So it's really fun getting to, like, try new foods. So,
You feel like you have a positive relationship with food at this point in your life?
yeah.
That's good because it definitely could have turned out not that way.
In the beginning, it definitely was hard because, like, I was getting more nutrition, I was gaining a little bit of weight, but it was never, like, and especially with, like, how my former mother was with it, like, she wanted me to be thin. Like, she had this pair of shorts, these white shorts that I would have to fit in. If they fit, I was too big. If they were loose, I was perfect. I still have those shorts. They're in a box. I don't touch them. I don't think I'm gonna be ever able to get rid of them, but I don't touch them. I'm never gonna put them on to see if they fit or if they don't, but I just can't get rid of it, Like, that's part of the story.
My first instinct would be to cut it up and turn it into something empowering.
I know.
But that's
Yeah.
a seamstress in me. Like, cut it up and make it into a flag or something.
I know, or, like, do something with it. I don't know, make it fun. I don't know, but I still even have the shoes that I ran away in, these red Converse. They're absolutely destroyed. Like, the soles are coming off of them. I've tried to decide, like, if I wanna, like, hang them up or, like, what I wanna do with them, but I just also can't get rid of them, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I wore those were my only pair of shoes for many months after running away.
How long did you live with this couple before you moved out of that situation?
A few years, we ended up moving all of us to Washington and Spokane.
Wow.
Yep, they had family here. Unfortunately, they ended up not being great people. There was a situation on the couch where he had put his hand on my upper thigh underneath my shorts a little bit, and he is a mental health provider.
Ugh.
So it led into a giant Department of Health investigation, all of that. Because I wasn't technically his patient, he's still practicing.
No.
So
What?
I submitted evidence where he had admitted what he had done. So I ended up moving out. So I am in another place now, so I'm safe and it's good. Had a lot of therapy after that. That's been many years since that happened.
Okay, I was gonna say, hold on, you just moved into the place that you're in now, so it wasn't recent.
I know. No. No, I've lived in a place before this one. Yep.
Okay, good. So when it comes to your former parents, have they ever successfully contacted you or have you had contact with them?
Oh yes, I when I was living with the couple, one of my friends who had lived in the neighborhood had told me they were moving. They moved 2 months after I ran away. Very quickly, they moved. And they had told me that there were people at the house, movers. And so I had gone with a friend back to Gainesville and showed up and I walked into the house. They had not seen me for 2 months after I'd run away, and I snuck into the house while the movers were there. Made eye contact with my former father as he was coming up from the basement. He was like, "What are you doing here?" And I was like, I froze a little bit, and then I was like, I'm just getting some of my things." And he was like, "Fine, your mother's upstairs." So I walked through the house, back up the stairs that I had left, went upstairs. My former mother saw me. She gave me, like, because the movers were there, she pulled on the waterworks and started crying and was like, "Oh my God, we've missed you. We love you. Please come home." And then the second that the movers were, like, not really in earshot, she was like, "Why the hell would you do this? You destroyed our family." And I'm like, "I'm just here to get my stuff. That's legally technically mine because some of these things I purchased myself." So I was very careful
Yeah.
to only take things that I had purchased. That way they couldn't do anything with that. And thankfully, as some of my things hadn't been boxed away or put into the moving van. So I stole back probably like 50 pens. I had paid for like these really nice like writing pens. Stole those back. I mean, I didn't really steal, I just took them back. Took some of like my photos down off my walls, off my desk. My former father gave me a crossbow. As I was walking out, he was like, "Here, do you want this?"
Weird.
He gave me a crossbow, so I don't know.
You're like, sure, I'll give you a 5-second head start.
Yeah, I've since gotten rid of that crossbow. I have no need for it. I don't know why I needed it.
Well, that was pretty brave of you and probably empowering to walk back in and stand your ground and take what's yours.
Yeah, it was terrifying. My friend was in the car. They were like, "If you don't come out in 5 minutes, I'm calling the police." I was like, "Fair. That's
Uh-huh.
totally fair." Yep.
Any contact after that?
There was off and on contact, especially with extended former families members. A lot of them choose not to believe what happened because they have already met. They know my parents really well, or they know like my former parents really well. They have spent time with them. They knew me growing up. Like a lot of them are like, "This never happened. Like we never saw anything happen to you, so it can't be true."
People are so dull. I swear. How, like, you're going to witness it. Like these perpetrators and these pedophiles are gonna do it in a place where people can walk in and see. It's like, I know I've said this a million times in your interview already, but use your brain.
Yes, they needed
Some
to.
people just are unwilling to shatter their reality for a brief second to consider the possibility that they were wrong about somebody.
Yeah, they really didn't. I am occasionally in contact with a cousin, who her and I have had really good back and forth dialogue on different things and beliefs around all of this. It's kind of like former family lore, but my former father and his brother did not speak to each other since my older brother was born. And so I knew that I had an uncle, but I like really didn't know that I had an uncle, like I didn't know his name. I didn't know his phone number. I didn't know how to contact. I knew the last name had to be my former last name. And so I finally, after running away, had like done a deep dive on the internet to find him, found him. They no longer speak with my former parents at all for their own reasons. My former mother told their daughter that she was going to die when she was younger. They had noticed that, like, my former mother had made comments about my weight and how my former mother didn't want me to get fat, which made her uncomfortable. And they just sensed something was really wrong. They didn't know what it was, and they couldn't put a finger on it, on what would. I mean, they had no idea what this would turn into.
So, well, how was that conversation?
It was shocking. They were like, unfortunately, like, we want to not believe you, but we do. We do believe you because, like, we had a sense that something was really wrong in this house. Like, and they were like, we never in a million years could have imagined it would ever go this far, but we know that something was really wrong. And that's why they had cut contact. And they had also cut contact too because my former father had stolen, again, money from them. My former father had gotten a loan from his brother to work on the new house, the one that I really was raised in growing up, use that money to go to Hawaii.
And it's interesting that it's the people who have seen glimpses of bad behavior that can be like, it's hard to believe, but I believe it.
Mm-hmm.
And what a lot of people don't realize too is that these perpetrators are so good at what they do that they purposely put on faces and these facades to the outside world so that if something ever does come up, the outside world is like, no way.
Yeah.
Not this guy. This is the guy you said did something. It's all by design. It's all on purpose.
No one knew.
Yeah. How often do you really see a perpetrator who anyone walking down the street would be like, that guy is probably off?
No
Not
idea.
very often,
Yeah, no.
because the ones who get away with it are good.
Very, extremely. And they always put up the front of like, oh, we're like good, loving parents, like we would never do this. They had me on ADHD meds growing up that I did not need. I never had ADHD. I just had PTSD, but they medicated me to make me act up. Because you're giving a child speed. So I couldn't sit still. I couldn't focus. So that would just like further their thing of like, oh, we have like this kid with ADHD who needs like extra help. Even when I ran away, they said that I went psychotic off the meds. I have a voicemail from my former father where he verbatim says, you can't be taken off the Adderall so quickly, you'll get psychotic effects. And I have since had that debunked by a psychologist, 2 different psychologists. I had myself tested, and they were like, you never had ADHD. You had PTSD. You never needed the Adderall, and you don't go psychotic going cold turkey off meds. You just don't get the benefit of the med that day. So they used everything to excuse me running away or to have some reason for me not being there, one that fit their narrative better.
Well, you can tell that they're just living in a different reality. The audacity of your former mother to say, you tore apart our family. Please. Please. Like, the victim blaming is so disgusting, and it, again, is such a common thing amongst these perpetrators where they just have no awareness that they're the problem. It's always the victim's problem.
None. Yeah.
When did you actually get into therapy and have the capacity to start deconstructing everything, not only your childhood, but Adventism?
I want to say it was like maybe 6 or 7 months after running away, I got a therapist. And I wanted a therapist that wasn't religious. I wanted somebody that was at least really neutral and wasn't biased to any one way of belief. Therapy is what really, really helped me. It helped me deal with like the PTSD symptoms that I was having, like the hypervigilance, the constant panic attacks, the nightmares, feeling like I needed to hide when I was in public. Like if someone like grazed me up against the arm, like I would freak out thinking that it was going to be somebody to grab me again. And so that really helped a lot. And then we kind of like dove into like the religious side of like how to deconstruct that. And it was hard, real hard. I still to this day, like I have a hard time wearing really short shorts, or like I won't wear crop tops because in my brain, like it's still not modest, you know? I'm a lot more relaxed now with what I wear, a ton, very extremely relaxed, but there's still some things that I just probably wouldn't wear.
Yeah, and I have to point out here, at least from my perspective, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's not because you feel like modesty is something that you want for yourself, it's because you're afraid. It's a fear thing, right?
It's more of a fear thing, yeah, and it's also just, like, what I'm comfortable in too, like, for the majority of the time, I wear sweatshirts and hoodies, and that's just because I feel safe in them, like, I can pull sleeves and kind of tuck my hands in, and that just feels safe, like, the more that I can, like, feel safe is, like, whatever I feel safest in is what I wanna wear, typically.
Yeah, and the reason that I brought that up is because again, if you wanna be modest, please be modest, do what feels right for you, but when
Mhm.
it comes to purity culture, the damaging effects of that is when you tell women that their bodies are inherently sinful and just existing will probably tempt men to hurt you, and if they do hurt you, it's your fault, and so you create a fear around your own vessel that you're supposed to that you were born in, we're born naked.
Yeah.
Not to say we should run running around naked, but the whole point I'm trying to make is that when you constantly shame and blame a woman for existing in her body and wearing what she's comfortable with, it then becomes terrifying to wear anything outside of that because you feel like if something happens to you, you'll be blamed, or you're like a walking billboard that says, "Come and assault me." And the scary thing is, some men do believe that that's the case. Well, she was wearing shorts, so she was asking for it. And I have to put it out there that that mindset is so dangerous, and if you were harmed, it was not your fault. It was because someone chose to harm you. So, I wanted to bring that up for people who may be struggling with the same thing, and if you feel, dress the way that you feel most comfortable, but for those who haven't been in that situation, I just want them to understand that for some people, it's not just, "Well, I'm choosing to wear this." It's, "I'm afraid if I don't wear this."
Yeah, exactly. Even, like, in the summer, like, people will be like, "Charlie, like, why are you wearing jeans?" And I'm like, "'Cause I'm not yet comfortable to really go and wear shorts all the time." I'm much better now. Like, I wanna say in the last, like, year and a half, maybe, I've started wearing shorts a lot more. I still have moments where it's just, like, I feel naked in shorts. I'm not gonna lie, like, I really do. Like, but it's gotten better as the years go. And there's always gonna be those little things, that pop up where it's just like, "Oh, maybe I need to work on this," or maybe I need to talk about this to my therapist.
Yeah, but it's also good that you're recognizing the pace that you need to go for yourself to still feel safe and in control. Because also, some people think, well, I should wear these things just to stick it to the religion, which in some cases that's fun. And I definitely did that at some point. But it's not necessary for your growth, it's not necessary for your healing. Just go at the pace that makes you feel comfortable. And if you don't feel comfortable doing it, there's no reason to force yourself unless you're truly ready to take that next step.
Yeah, and I wanna say, like, after running away, like, I definitely did do some things that were, like, definitely out of the norm with the Adventist world and definitely fast-paced, a little reckless or, like, considered reckless in the Adventist church. So, like, I dyed my hair like a ruby pink. I wanna say, like, maybe 4 days after running away, like, once I was in Savannah, dyed my hair, I've got my nose pierced, I've got my ears pierced, my cartilage pierced, I've got tattoos up and down my arms.
So rebellious.
So rebellious, so rough.
I only laughed because I did the same thing because within Mormonism,
Yeah.
you can only have one piercing, and I was like, "Brr, I'm just gonna get them all." And also, not just to spite the church, but because I truly have always wanted more piercings. I got a second one at 7 and then righteously took it out when the prophet said I should.
Oh,
But the point is, just being authentic is such a better way to live than just being forced into this righteous, like, it's this whole idea that I'm gonna be more righteous and I'm better than you if I follow these rules better, when in reality, you want the piercing. When in reality, maybe you do want the tattoo and you're just trying to convince yourself that you don't because that means you're better than everybody because you're more righteous.
Exactly. Yep. I mean, I remember when I got my nose pierced and I had seen my former mother like in person, and I just remember her looking at my nose and being like, "Oh, you poked a hole in your nose. Why the hell would you do that?" I'm like, "Because I like it. Thank you."
Yeah. And speaking of living authentically, we talked about in your first interview how you recognized that you were attracted to women, how that was extremely
Mhm.
demonized within the Adventist world. So, when did you allow yourself to lean into that authenticity, or have you allowed yourself to have those types of relationships?
I have allowed myself to have those kinds of relationships, yes. It's been good. It's been really good. I want to like definitely took a while before I started dating, like to think about like who I wanted to be in a relationship, because the only relationship that had been shown to me was the really abusive kind. Really abusive. And so that's why for me it was really important to like do a crap ton of therapy before I put myself in a relationship, because like I don't want to cause harm. I don't want to be subjected to harm. I want to make sure that I know how to communicate, how to whatever I needed to know, I needed to know it before I put myself in a relationship. But then I also needed to just like get myself involved in the community. So like I started going with like PFLAG in PFLAG Loudoun County in Virginia. It was amazing getting to like talk with people.
Sorry, did you call it P flag? I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah, so PFLAG is short for Parents and Families of Lesbians and Gays.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's kind of a support group. So it's like if you're an adult person in the LGBT community, you have your own group, and then there's the parents group and allies group, and then there's the minors group, and we all have our own spots to go to, and we can talk about whatever. And there's obviously somebody leading each group, and so some of those topics are like, how did religion affect you
Yeah.
growing up? So it was kind of like group therapy, and that was like really helping. So like that really helped with the deconstruction for me, and to just learn about the community and to just get myself involved in it. So that was incredibly helpful.
Well, just having the awareness that you needed to work on yourself before diving into a relationship is amazing and super rare. I feel like a lot of times, and of no fault of anybody, people don't realize that they should be doing that because it's like, I'm free and I want to just try everything and go for it. And then we end up in toxic situations, pointing to myself here.
I mean,
So,
obviously my past trauma is going to be mentioned in relationships, and my current relationship, yes, it's been mentioned, it's been talked about. But
yeah.
it was important to me that the past behaviors that I was exposed to don't ever come into any relationship that I'm in. Friends, romantic, acquaintances, people in the grocery store. So it was very important to me that I like worked on myself before putting myself into a serious relationship.
Yeah. And you said that you're in a serious relationship now?
Yes. It's so good.
I know that you have the cutest little dog now, and how has it been having an animal? They're such emotional support buddies.
So I got Hadley. She's a Beagle, Foxhound, and American Coonhound mix a year after. Oh, not even a year, less than a year after. I want to say like 9 months after running away.
So she's truly your best friend support animal.
She has been with it, through it. She's been through the thick of it with me. Yes.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah, so I got her mainly because, like, at the time when I was living with that couple, I was terrified to leave the apartment. I was scared to really leave my room. I was scared to make friends. I was scared to do anything. And so I kind of brought up the idea of, like, what if we got a dog? Which at first they were not on board with it, but they eventually were like, yeah, we can get a dog. Hadley has her own trauma. The home that she was in, like the first home that she was born into, was very abusive with physical abuse towards her. So she was a very scared baby. And then the second home that she was brought into after she was removed, like forcibly removed from that home, they had all animals removed from their care. She was adopted before me, and they had a cat. She's terrified of the cat, so she hid
Oh.
under the bed, and they were like, this isn't a life for her. Like, this isn't gonna work. We don't want to traumatize her more. So they returned her to the shelter, which is when I found her. And she had a lot of trauma. I didn't know that she had a fear of umbrellas. Opened that at a winery with her, and she freaked out, slithered out of her harness, and like full speed sprinted around the winery
Oh no.
in fear because everybody had umbrellas. It was so hot. People were using them to block sun. The patio had umbrellas. She just freaked. And it took a good, like, I want to say 45 minutes of just trying to corner her.
Oh no.
Yep. So we've worked on that. She's still afraid of umbrellas. I don't really know how to fix that one. I think now it's like if they're open, she's fine, but if they pop open around her, then she freaks out. Books were a big one. I didn't know about until, again, a freak out. Like, you don't know until they start reacting to what you're doing. I had a book and I was like flipping through the pages because they had thrown books at her. And so when she saw me with the book, she like immediately found a corner and just like was shaking. So she's fine with books now. I can rub them on her. I can flip through the pages. I can set them down kind of loudly. She's good with that. So it's taken a lot of work, but helping her helped me in a way because like she needed calm. And at that time when I first got her, I was not feeling calm myself. I needed to learn how to regulate my emotions. I needed to learn to name what I was feeling and explain what I was feeling and not just name it and have a why I was feeling it. But with the panic attacks too, like I needed to just breathe. And so when she was freaking out and having her own puppy version of a panic attack, I was able to learn to regulate breathing with her to just calm her down.
Yeah.
And that teaching her those things taught me in a way.
Yeah. And also just learning how to be that strength for somebody else is empowering.
And to take care of something that's not yourself. Yeah.
And so you've had her 6 years now?
Yep. 6 years. So she's 7.
Do you want to bring her on and show everybody how cute she
Let
is?
me go grab her.
Oh, look at that little face.
She's my baby.
So cute.
This is Hadley.
She's
sit.
adorable.
She's like trying to lay down.
She's like, what do you need, Mom?
But yeah, that's Hadley. She's my child.
I'm so glad that you're living a more happy, authentic, peaceful life, you and your doggy and your partner. And is there anything else you want to share about what makes you happy? What brings you peace and joy?
Just being able to do my own thing. Like, not going to church on Saturday is really nice. Because I was like every day growing up. And so now it's like, still occasionally will have moments where I'm like, I don't really know what to do with myself on a Saturday. Like, I feel like I shouldn't plan something, but like I should plan something. So it's been nice to not be so controlled by the Adventist way of life.
And where have you landed now, spiritually or religiously or none of the above?
I want to say I'm like a hybrid between agnostic and atheist. Like, I believe in something greater. I don't believe that's necessarily God. I don't know. There's a higher power of something. I mean, I'm not the greatest person on the planet.
What do you mean?
I think that there's something greater. I don't know. Like, I'm not the almighty.
Oh, I see.
Nobody really is the almighty. Like, like I'm not like the greatest person on the planet.
So you're not going to have your own planet one day like the Mormons? See episode 1 for that reference?
That would be really cool. I would love to have my own planet.
Maybe. Who knows?
That would be
Maybe the
so
Mormons are
fun.
right, and we'll find out when we all die.
That is a common thing that I think about, and I was recently having a conversation with someone about that. I was like, what if we got it wrong? Like, this is like a wormhole that I will fall down to the end of time for me, is what if actually God is real? What if there was actually a religion that was actually the correct one, and we just got it wrong?
Yeah, I think that's something that all ex-members face. I remember going through that after leaving Mormonism, where I was like, oh man, if they're right, then I really screwed up.
I
But
really screwed
you know
up if they were
how-
right.
Yeah, but we always think about the what if I was wrong? Instead, I feel like the question should be, what are the chances that they're right? Out of all the hundreds of thousands of religions, what are the actual chances that the one that you were born and raised in is the right one?
Minute. Tiny,
Yeah,
right?
pretty slim. So that's why I feel like no one really knows the answer. As much as we like to say, well, I know, especially Mormon, I know this church is true, was the whole thing. You really don't know. You can have a sense of what feels good to you. And that's why I feel like in any religion, people have that feeling of, oh, I know this is the true religion. Or is it that that religion maybe has some facets that allows you to be a better person, that makes you feel good about being part of that religion? So, with all of that said, I feel like everyone has good in them, and if we can just be good people and good contributing members of society, not harming anybody, then maybe that's good enough. Maybe all of these arbitrary rules really don't matter and they're just restricting us from living an even happier life.
Yeah, I think a lot of the rules are pretty nonsense.
Wait, so for those who aren't familiar or they missed the first episode, can you just list off the top of your head some of the most nonsensical rules in Adventism?
I mean, like the modest rule, like things not being like they have to be either to the knee or 2 inches above the knee. Don't eat unclean meat. So, like shrimp, some types of meat. For me, I had to be raw vegan, couldn't have meat at all. The sundown to sundown rule. So, Friday night sundown to Sabbath sundown on Saturday, that's God's time. Couldn't do teams for that. So, I mean, in some churches, like, you have to have your hair curly. That wasn't necessarily for me. It was occasionally that it needed to be curly, depending on the church that we were going to at the time. Makeup, rarely. Couldn't do that for me, but I know some people were allowed to do a lot of makeup and had to start makeup at a young age to be deemed valuable in a way.
And no jewelry.
Yeah, no jewelry. For me, the church that I grew up in the Manassas church, a lot of people went 2 different ways. Some people didn't wear jewelry and some people did. And if they did, it was very dainty jewelry. Very, very thin.
Yeah. And no secular music or drum beats for the most part.
Yet my church, the Manassas church could not have drums. That was a huge scandal in the church.
The fact that someone decided in these fundamentalist churches that drum beats were satanic is like so racist and just horrible.
It makes no sense.
I just wanted to throw out a few because I thought that was interesting. And in some
Yeah,
cases,
that's
no
great.
spices, no salt and pepper, nothing spicy, because then you might want to masturbate.
That's a new one that I haven't heard of.
You didn't have to do that?
No.
Okay.
I mean, the majority of my food was raw vegan, but my former parents put spices on their stuff.
Interesting.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Well, just another example of how some people are following it to the T. It wasn't it Ellen White who wrote about that? Ellen White was the prophetess.
The
Kind of
prophet.
started the whole thing. Yeah,
Was
she
a
was the one
woman.
who wrote about that. I know, it's crazy. Makes no sense in the structure of patriarchy. There was a woman in charge, but I mean, it's great, but also very weird.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
So, okay, I feel like we got through everything we wanted to. I'm so glad we did the second episode. Again, if you're watching and you haven't seen the first one, you can go back and learn more about Charlotte's childhood and what led us to the point of escaping and why she felt the strong need to escape. And I didn't prepare you for a second, Linda, listen, but do you have one?
I don't. It's the same one. Linda, listen, I was telling the truth the whole time, but you just didn't want to hear it.
Okay, we'll just double down. I love it.
Yeah,
Perfect.
it's true.
And tell people your social media handles so they can find you and support you.
On TikTok, I am charlie.hayes with no E at the end. And on Instagram, I am charliehayes_. Again, no E.
Perfect. Any other final thoughts before we go? This was great.
I just want people to know that it's okay to share their story. Get it out there, because secrets make you sick.
Yeah. And that's such a great point, too. Just getting it out in some capacity, even if it's writing it down. You're writing a memoir, right?
I am currently in the process of writing a memoir. Yes, it's a very long process, but yes, I am working on that.
Even if it's just getting it down, even if nobody reads it, that process of taking it out of your
It's
head and putting
therapeutic.
it on paper, yeah, it just really, especially when you're in a different place in your life, it allows you the opportunity to look back in hindsight and maybe deconstruct things or put pieces together that you maybe not have considered in the past with your new fresh brain that you have remolded and rebuilt for the deconstructed version of yourself that you are now. So, yeah, I think that's great. Awesome. Any final thoughts?
I would say I recommend that people get into therapy. It's so good for you
Yeah.
and it's healing. It brings a lot of peace, therapy, and to tell your story.
Well, thank you for coming back for part 2.
Thank you. This has been fun.
Yeah. It's been great hearing your story, and
Thank you.
I think I followed you back on TikTok. I want to hear more of it.
Oh, nice.
Swiping through,
And
you have
thank
so
you
much
for
stuff on there too.
letting me share it.
Yeah, of course. And guys, if you're still watching, thank you for making it to the end. Leave those words of encouragement down below for Charlie. It means so much to our guests. It boosts the algorithm. Best way to support the show, interacting any way you can. Hitting that like button is super helpful. And clicking on any of our videos right when they drop, even if you listen on mute, if you want to skip a video, it tells the algorithm that our core audience loves the video, and then it boosts it to a wider audience. If you want to support further, we have a Patreon at patreon.com/cults to consciousness. We have some merch at cultstoconsciousness.com. We have a clips channel if you're interested in shorter versions of our guest stories. All of that will be in the description, as well as Charlotte's links. And if you like this video, absolutely go check out the first one. Check out Melissa's interview. Check out Rosie Quartz. If it's not out, it's coming out soon. And until next time, follow your highest excitement, be conscious, and be well.